What does it take for you to be in a flow state? That's my question for you. This is Dov Baron, fullmontyleadership.com. And I was having a discussion with some of my good friends who are also podcasters. We were talking about flow state, what that is and how do you get into it and how do you even recognize when you're in it. How many times do you get into flow state? Do you recognize when you're in it? It's that space where time sort of drifts by. It's where you're in that flow where things just seem so easy. It's so natural. Whatever it is that you're doing, you don't actually have to think about it and you lose track of time. You know, you probably have a flow state for a whole bunch of different things. You know, you might be doing something personal, you might be doing something professional, and then you find yourself in that state of flow. But what is it that triggers it, and how important is it to know? Well, I put it to you that being in a flow state is a state that makes your life a heck of a lot easier. And there are certain things that will allow you to be in a flow state that others won't. So what I want to put forward to you is this. I want to ask you, when do you notice that you are just at your best? When do you notice that you just flow with it? When do you notice that it comes easy, whatever it is? So here's what I want you to look at and ask yourself so you can help yourself. Is it a time of day? Is it a time of day? See, some people have a flow state that their best time of day is 4 a.m. Maybe you're one of those. I see that Lynn is on here. Maybe that's true for Lynn. Maybe it's, because I know he gets up early. Maybe it's 11 o'clock at night. For some people, their best time, their most energized time, the place where it just flows for them is really late at night. I know that I work best at 2. I have 2 times. My first one is very early in the morning. It's like 5 a.m. For about 3 hours there where it's nice and quiet. But it's also late at night, and it could be like 1 o'clock in the morning, 11, 12, 1. Obviously, doing those 2 back to back, not a good idea. You might get a bit tired. Hey Lisa, good to see that you're on with us. Thank you for joining us. And anybody else that comes on, please say hi, give us a wave, and share this with your friends. So noticing the time of day. What is the time of day when you find yourself in that flow state? The time when you don't push as hard. And you'll notice, actually, one of the ways to notice it is to notice the opposite. When are you not in flow state? So for instance, there are certain things that I do very well at certain times of the day. For instance, writing for me as an exercise, and I write a lot and I love to write and I enjoy writing and it flows pretty easy. But if I have to write at 2, 3 in the afternoon, that is so not a good time for me. I find that I'm kind of banging it out, it's kind of clunky. So noticing when you're out of flow and when you're in flow. Maybe there's a better time of day for you to exercise. For me, exercise first thing in the morning. I've got tons of energy in the morning. I'm better in the morning. And I know that if I leave it to the afternoon, it isn't going to happen. So looking at the time of day. Then you look at your environment. What is the environment, your physical environment? What puts you in the best flow state environmentally? Is it a quiet room? Like a friend of mine, we were talking about it, and for him, the flow state comes best for him around people. He writes best when he's in Starbucks. He sits in Starbucks. He doesn't talk to anybody, but there's all these people around him, and that buzz of people really feeds him and feeds that place for him so that he goes into that flow state just being around people. So look at the environment for you. So you got your time and you got your environment. So think about those things. Think about sound. Like I said, that friend of mine, he needs the busyness. Well, maybe for you that's the case, but maybe you need silence. Maybe you need ohms in the background. Maybe you need music. For me, if I like music, but if it's got a catchy tune or if it's got lyric, I can't listen to it because my brain naturally goes to the lyric and I start singing along with the song. Not a good thing for me. Not if I'm trying to work on that. So then there's that. Then there's the amount of sleep that you have. How much sleep do you have? Then there's about how much food do you have in your belly. So for instance, I am definitely going to work best on an empty stomach. Like I just got my coffee, got my fat coffee, I'm ready to go. That is beautiful for me. If I've eaten within an hour, it isn't happening. I'm not going to be in that flow state. It's actually it's too much blood in my belly to be in my brain. It just doesn't work well for me. So think about that. Then there's this. Now I wanted to talk to you about this part because to me this is vital piece that I think gets missed about flow state is, I was going to do a separate video on this, I'm going to write a simple article on this, but I just want to give you this as a gift. I've noticed this about myself, and I want you to see if it's true about you. And that is that I am a catalyst. I'm a leader, and as a leader, I catalyze other people. There's a chemistry that I create with other people that allows them to move into a flow state. I catalyze people. I'm able to see things in them that they don't necessarily see themselves. I had the ability to have them see what previously seemed impossible and actually give them a process by which that they can actually do the thing that previously seemed impossible. So I'm a catalyst for other people's greatness. That puts me in a flow state. If somebody is there with me and they're open and they're curious, that puts me into that state. But here's the thing I need you to know, and that is that I, and maybe you, am also a sponge. If I'm around people who are better than me, who are greater than me in some way, shape, or form, and maybe it's somebody who I just see as like, wow, they're magnificent at this or that. If I surround myself with those people, that catalyzes me into a flow state as well, where things are just like, oh, boom, 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 I've got the answers to things that I never even, couldn't see the answer to before. Suddenly it's like, I got it. I'm in that flow state. This is the importance of working with a great coach or a great mentor or a great mastermind. I facilitate those masterminds. I'm in masterminds, and I, of course, guide, coach, mentor, and strategically plan with others. Those environments work great for me. What is it that puts you into that flow state? What kind of an environment do you need to be in? What kind of people do you need to be around? This is a really important thing for you. So, for instance, when I'm doing a podcast, when I'm recording a podcast, that puts me in a flow state. I have a basic outline, and then I go from there. Now, here's the interesting thing about flow state. Flow state, and this is, you can go by the way, I highly recommend that you go look at Stephen Kotler's work and Jamie Wheel's work. They did the Genome Flow Project. It's a Flow Genome Project. It's fantastic stuff, and it's about being in that flow state. And there are a lot of great examples of how to get there and how to best put yourself in it. And a lot of what they talked about was being in it from a place of adrenaline. That when we're in these adrenaline places, we tend to go into that flow state. Okay? Now, here's the thing for me, that doesn't work for me. It used to in my 20s and even in my 30s, but that actually doesn't put me in a flow state anymore. But also, what is it that does it for you? Because it might be that adrenaline thing. What I find is really interesting is that group of people that I put myself around. The people I surround myself with. Now, we've all heard Jim Rohn's quote that you become the average of the 5 people that you spend time with. And, that quote is sort of thrown around a lot, but I don't think people understand it. I actually wrote about it extensively in a dissertation that I wrote on the resonance of 5. And I'm going to give you that right now because I want you to understand that these 5 people are either keeping you out of that flow state of your magnificence, or they're helping you to get in it. So here's what I want you to do. Write down the name of the 5 people you spend the most amount of time with. Now, by the way, the 5 people you spend the most amount of time with is different than it might have been even as little as 5 or 10 years ago, because now many of the people you spend time around, you might not spend time around physically. Some of my closest friends, I've never hugged. Isn't that bizarre? I think it's bizarre. But I spend time with them every single day. We communicate, we connect, we have great conversations. So sometimes they're not people who are directly in contact with you, as in physically. So write them down, the 5 people you spend the most amount of time with, and then I want you to write down, you're probably going to have to guesstimate how much they earn. Right? So guesstimate, if you don't know, guess what it is that they earn. Then look in another category, and the category is this, the category of joy. And score them on a scale of 1 to 10. How joyous are each of these people? How joyful do they seem to you? Then do inspired. How inspired do they seem to be? How much on purpose are they? Break it into a bunch of different categories. How healthy are they? And you will then Once you've done all that, score yourself in each one of those categories. And I just gave you a few categories. You can go as many categories as you want. We used to do this in one of my workshops, and people would be blown away, absolutely blown away with what they discover. So here's what I want you to do. Then, once you've got all those categories, score yourself in each one of those categories and see where you score. Right? So if it's on joy, you score yourself about a 6. Great. The finances, you score yourself about okay, I give myself a 4 or give myself an 8 or whatever it might be. On health, I give myself a 3 or a 9 or whatever it is that you give yourself. Get them all down. And then look back at the list you made of your 5 people and add up their numbers in each of the categories divided by, you got it, 5. Here's what's interesting. You will discover that your number and their number is always probably within a point. It's amazing. You are the average of the 5 people you spend time with. Now look at flow. Do those people in the flow? Are you putting yourself around people who keep you in a flow state where life is naturally flowing? Get yourself around the people who make it easy for you to be at your very best, to be magnificent, whether that's your coach, whether that's your mentor, whether that's your strategic partners, whether that is your mastermind group. Maybe it's your friends, maybe it's your family. Oftentimes, that's not. And by the way, you need to be really honest about it. When you're making those scores, if some of the people around on that scores are maybe friends or close friends and maybe family members, and they're scoring really low, maybe you can't afford to be around them and discuss that subject. Maybe you can't be around them around that subject, around that thing that you're looking at. So if all the people you have around you all score probably, like say, a 7 or 7-ish, except for maybe your sister, and you spend a lot of time with your sister, and she scores a 2, it's just fine. You don't have to get rid of her. But you can't spend time with her around fitness. You can't spend time around her talking about fitness or trying to be fit. Does that make sense? It's the same with money. If you are surrounded by people and you look at all your people and you've got like one person who's scoring really low in the financial department and everybody else is scoring high, then you can't be around that person and talk about money. You can't talk about how to make money or how you feel about money, because you're going to shift to that lower frequency. So that's my instant broadcast to you. That is my leadership unscripted for you. This is my gift to you. I hope that you found it valuable. I hope that you will share it with others who might find it valuable, because I really think you're worth it. I think you're worth being in that flow state and being in your magnificence. And I hope that you'll share this with others. Till next time, this is Dov Baron, FullMontyLeadership.com. And saying, stay curious, my friend. Stay curious about who you're spending time with, and are they keeping you in flow state? They're not keeping you out of it. You are, if you're hanging out with people who don't support your flow state. So stay curious, my friend. Stay curious. Till next time, Dov Baron, Full Monty Leadership. I'm out. Share this.